This podcast is brought to you by BDRN LLC, the Bleeding Disorders Resource Network. BDRN provides resources and support for individuals and families navigating bleeding disorders. To learn more, visit www.mybdrn.com. Welcome to the EPBDF podcast series, The Power of Community, a 4-part impact series, part 1, where we are sharing stories of strength, courage, and the power of community within the bleeding disorders world. My name is Sarah Palasic. I am the Executive Director of the Eastern Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorders Foundation, and I'm so honored to kick off our very first episode with someone who represents the heart and history of this community. Today, I'm joined by Pat Johnson, a longtime community member and industry professional whose journey is deeply personal. Her husband, Bill, otherwise known as Pete Johnson, lived with hemophilia and was among the first patients treated at Jefferson Hospital here in Philadelphia. Together, they have 2 daughters, Maria and Patty, who are also affected. Pat brings a perspective that spans decades, both as a caregiver and as someone who has dedicated her professional life to this space and continues to do so. Pat, I'm so grateful you're here today. Before we get started, I want to share something that's really stayed with me in this role. There have been so many moments where I found myself saying, I wish I had had the chance to meet this person or that person who I've heard about along the way. Knowing you, Pat, and the generosity, warmth, and dedication you bring to this community, I can only imagine how extraordinary Pete was. And I'm sorry that I did not have the chance to meet him. It's truly an honor to have you here for our very first inaugural podcast, and I hope we can do justice to his legacy and to you and your family by sharing your story today. So let's start at the beginning, because your story is really a piece of this community's history. We'll start it off with, how did you and Pete meet? And can you take us back to Pete's journey with hemophilia and how you learned about it and supported him in the early days?
Okay, how I met Pete, it was Memorial Day weekend, and I was at the Velvet Lounge in Northeast Philadelphia with my girlfriends, and the band was Pete's band. He played bass guitar. And him and the drummer and the singer came down, and they were all dressed alike. So he came to me, and I said to him, oh, you buy one code for $1, get one for 99 cents. So he said, no, I'm the musician, and I wasn't paying attention, and that's how we met. We did. And how did I know about hemophilia? It was interesting that night. He had a big black eye. And I said, what happened to you? And he said, I had a tooth out, and I have a bleeding problem. And I went, you have hemophilia? And he was shocked that here I was, a girl from Kensington, knowing about hemophilia. But I had worked in St. Mary's Hospital in the emergency room part-time. So That's how I knew.
Okay.
And if I heard a word like hemophilia, I would look it up and see what it was. That I still do that. And that's how we met. And that's how my journey started in the hemophilia community.
I want to pick up a little bit on your experience at St. Mary's. I didn't realize that you had worked at St. Mary's.
Yeah, I worked in the emergency room, like the clinics they had. Like I would go in with the doctors and cut a bandage off for somebody and, take stitches out and stuff like that.
And how often would you have people come in with bleeds?
We had one person who lived in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Who had hemophilia.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they didn't have clotting factor. So blood transfusion, and sometimes he brought his brother in, and his brother would give him blood.
Oh,
it was interesting. I was like, wow, this is great.
What year or decade would that have been?
That was, let me see, I graduated in 1972, and that was like 72, 73.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So it was definitely before clotting factor.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Yep. So what was your first experience with treatment centers in general, but especially with Jefferson?
Well, all I kept hearing, like for the whole month of June, I met Memorial Day, was there this nurse, Kay Miller. And that's all he kept saying, you have to meet Kay. He was getting a divorce at the time. And he said, you have to meet Kay. She's wonderful. She's my nurse. So he had an appointment in early July, and I went and I met Kay Miller. And she was a young nurse at the time. She was from upstate Pennsylvania. She was such a doll baby. I could see why everybody loved her. I mean, she was with them through a lot. And that's how I became there. And then, his brother Tom, if he, they would announce that, he was a boy bleeder, but he was AB negative. So you just couldn't go in the hospital and they would have AB negative blood. They didn't.
Very rare.
Yeah. So his mother started a program, like she would call the radio stations in Philadelphia, and they would announce boy bleeder is in Thomas Jefferson Hospital, and he needs AB negative. And she kept like her recipe box, no recipes. It was all people who donated to him. And they would go, and she would keep it the record when they donated, what they donated. And this is how he survived.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
And then talk a little bit about how she paid for when he had to come in for transfusions.
Well, they used to have a clinic. That's the way they were. And really, they lived in Southwest Philly. His father worked for the railroad. And he had 2 younger brothers. And his grandmother spoke only Italian. So what they did is he would get on the trolley at 52nd and Willows and take the trolley to Jefferson. And if they went on Monday when the clinic was, sometimes he didn't come home for a week because the doctors, a teaching hospital, Jefferson was, they would keep him and all kinds of tests and everything, and he would stay for the week. So it was like how he described it, it was like a 10-bed ward. And they would come in and you would have to pay for the TV. So he started a little business that he thought he was a hairdresser. He thought he was a barber. God forbid if you ever got a haircut from him. And what happened is he would charge a quarter and they would put it, and that's how they pay for the TV.
So it was him that was doing the haircuts.
Oh, yes.
Or trying.
Yes, but like the one time I saw him cut his aunt's hair, and we were all laughing because my father-in-law said, "Mary, your hair looks nice. It's so masculine." Everybody got the same haircut. It was hysterical. But he tried.
Sure. And he was not, at that point, not just helping himself, he was helping the other people who were in there to be able to watch TV.
Could watch TV.
Do you think it was one of those like TV things that you had to put the quarter in?
I guess.
Or something?
He said that they already could watch it. I think what it was is the nurses didn't want to watch it all night long and stuff like that.
Okay.
But he liked to watch TV, games and stuff like that. And that's what they did. And that's how he got the money. Because, you couldn't see your parents they didn't come every day.
Right.
Once a week. So he would go Monday, and maybe Sunday his mother would come.
And so at what age?
8 years old,
I was going to ask.
9 years old. He started that when he was 8 years old, taking the trolley from Southwest Philly.
And he was one of the first patients that Jefferson had.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what he did. And it was like, I would say 8 years old on a trolley.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that.
Different times.
At different times.
Maybe safer times.
That's what happened. And that's how I became familiar, when he would tell our stories. And like his mother told a lot of stories about, how she did it. And I thought that was amazing how she kept a record for her son. And all, but they never said hemophilia then. It was always boy bleeder.
And that would be on the local radio stations.
On all the radio stations. And that's how he survived.
So by the time you two met and married or began dating, hemophilia treatment centers had been created.
Yes.
Just created. Because I believe that was 1972. I have to fact check that.
And then in 1973, he went on the Factor at home. And there had to be another factor or another person to do it. And the Factor, then you would have to hang the bag up and you would have to drip it in. So his brother, Tom, went and learned how to do it. And you had to pay the state of Pennsylvania $1 a day if you could afford it. And it was like $365 a year for Factor at that time. But it changed everybody's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It did. They were able to get a job if they could. And they could have children and, help with the children. And it was like a change, a big change.
Yes. Less pain. more mobility. Or were people able to also go into the hospital to get factor, or were they only
Some
doing
still
it in the
do.
home?
Some still did because
Do.
a lot of people were afraid to stick themselves.
Yes, of course.
You know, and that was the big problem. But
Yeah.
when my husband heard he could get it at home, he stuck
jumped
right
on it.
away. He stuck himself. You know, he did, or his brother did it. And very seldom he asked for help because he was so self-sufficient. Most hemophilia people are self-sufficient. We have children will do it 7 years old, stick
Yeah.
themselves in mixer factor. It's amazing to see a little kid do it.
Did you ever have to do it for him?
Yes, Kay taught me how to do it.
Okay.
You know, we went there and she had like grapefruit and oranges out. And I went, what's that for? And she said, well, I'm going to teach her. And I would go, oh, no, I'm not going to do fruit. I want to do him. And he said, sure. And
He trusted
that's how
you?
I do it. Yeah.
That's-
Well, I don't know how much he trusted me, but he let me do
He
it.
let you do it. So, as a spouse and a caregiver over the years, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced, may still face as a caregiver of two girls now?
Well, you know,
Women, I should say.
right. They don't bleed like getting cut and something like that. They do bleed. But spontaneous bleeds, like he would call me on the way home from work and he would say, mix me factor. I'm going to bleed. And it was his joint bleed, always. I mean, the one time his joint was his right elbow and left elbow. Terrible. And the pain was excruciating. He would have to wear a brace on his arm. And even if the dog would go over and sniff it, he would jump like that. Don't come near me. Get the dog away from me. The dog's hurting me. And this lasted a year. And then it went away. And then a couple of years later, the joint started again. And that was hard,
Even with the factor.
even with the factor.
Did he have any surgeries?
He had his gallbladder out and open heart surgery.
Oh.
Yes.
What year was that?
Let me see. He died in 2015. About 2000, he died, in 2010. He had it like 2002.
Okay.
He came home from the hospital on a Saturday. We were staying at my daughter's house, and he went in the bathroom, and we heard thump. He passed out. Here he had a heart attack. Just getting out of the hospital after 8 days.
Wow.
So the ambulance came. They took him to Frankfurt still where we were. And the one doctor who was in the emergency room was a Jefferson doctor, and we knew him. And he said, Pat, this is serious. He needs open heart surgery. He did.
Right then and there?
So
or did they?
They transferred him, and then, of course, he had to have tests. It was in intensive care. It was amazing. We were in the waiting room, and Kay Miller, the nurse, she was in and out, bringing factor in. And they did the open heart surgery. But he really never got over that.
Okay.
I think it was such a shock. He never thought he would have a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then, having a heart attack and, the operation was a success. But when you get that scar, that's the painful one because they crack your ribs.
Mm-hmm.
And he would like this. And that lasted, they said 6 months. Believe me, it was like a year and a half before it really, really healed.
Do you feel that part of the long-term healing was because of the hemophilia?
I do. Me personally, yes. And I'm not a doctor, so
Sure.
yes, I thought so.
Sure.
And he changed after that. He was at first he was afraid to do this, afraid to do that, and then he finally got back. I get a call on a Sunday, and he had the surgery on Friday, and they said you better get here right away. We don't know. And the doctor got on the phone, and he said to me, something's wrong somewhere. He's in some pain, and I said to them on the phone, well, he has hemophilia. He said, what? The doctor said, no one told us this. I said, something could have came loose, and he's bleeding. And they said, okay. And I said, I hung up from them, called the surgeon, and called the other doctor, and they were there. And here's something did break, and they had to go back in again. And that's why they had to open him up again. So I think that's why it took so long for him to heal. He did.
And can you imagine if he hadn't called you?
I was like shocked when they called me, and I said, so what I did after that, I made a big sign, hemophilia, bleeder, and that's what I did. And I put it above his bed, on his bed, on the wall, all over.
That's probably just as good of an advocacy technique to do now as it was back then.
Yes, it was. You have to, and advocacy means a lot to me, but the advocacy is people in the hemophilia community are afraid to question. And I think they're still like that. You know, and it's like you still respect your doctor and all, but ask questions. Because it's your life. It's your loved one's life. It's your kid's life. I mean, I would run after doctors out of his room and like tap them on the shoulder because doctors would come in and they would turn their body on me and talk to him. Like I was like, I'm his wife. I'm the caregiver. You know, take care of me. And I would run down the hall after a doctor and said, don't you ever do that again.
I hope that people are listening to that part because I think it's really important that they know that they need to be advocating. And I still believe that there's somewhat of a lack of education or awareness about hemophilia and bleeding disorders. I mean, they talk all the time about it just being a very small section in the education books for providers. And that's a huge reason why you have to be able to advocate.
You have to speak up. They're your children or yourself. Speak up. And I know people, treatment centers will say to me, do you know this person? Yes. They would say, we thought so because they always are asking questions. And I said, good, I'm doing a good job.
You've taught them. You've taught them well.
I'm doing an excellent job. I taught them well.
Yes.
And it all goes with it. I mean, we used to do the Man Wine group at Jefferson. And that was the first thing, you know, speak up for yourself. And, you know, and you have to. We did a program on Saturdays for a couple weeks for St. Christopher's. And it was for the Spanish community, but anybody could come because they were afraid to speak up. And I would say, bring someone who can speak for you. These are your children. They are. And I met kids when they were like 2 years old, and I still am friends with them.
Yeah.
They all have my password to my garage. I can come home and they're sitting watching my TV, raiding my refrigerator and stuff like that. But that's fine.
Yeah.
If they need help.
Talk a little bit more about Man Wine. How do you spell that?
It was MANN and Won, WONN. It was when the HIV started. They National asked us to do it, and we did it. And we did it at Jefferson because we didn't know. And that's the truth. We went in to offer support, but we didn't know we were living the same as everybody else.
What did you do when you went in?
Well, we would get some speakers who could speak on it.
Okay.
And have a luncheon. And it was nice because the guys could talk and the women could talk. That's what I did, the women's. And then we would have lunch together. We would give out protection to see, you know, to use it because nobody really knew at the end. And our center was losing people. Friends we had for years. It was sad. I would get calls and they would say to me, my wife gives me hot dogs every day because she doesn't cook and I want this. I would make food and take it to them, their favorite food. And they would, the embarrassment, they would wash their dishes in bleach. But like if they were having a family dinner and all, they would keep their stuff separate. And it was the embarrassment. And I had to say to people, just keep it aside. Don't make a big deal out of it. Because everybody didn't know the problem. We didn't know the problem.
Right.
The doctors didn't know.
Yeah.
Until, you know, I remember when he was told, you know, and, you know, he got the bad factor. But, you know, we would get notices from Jefferson. This factor number, did you take it? Well, of course they took it. I mean, you get 6 months later, nobody had factor left in 6 months.
Talking about the unexpected life, living with hemophilia documentary that I watched a few weeks ago, Pete talks about how his doctor called and invited him out to lunch for a cheesesteak.
Yeah, doctor was Dr. John Sprandio.
Okay, and that's when he told Pete that he had contracted HIV.
Yes. But Pete didn't tell me right away.
Right. Tell that story.
What happened was, all of a sudden, I said, how was your lunch? You know, when he came home, and he goes, oh, great, everything's fine. And then we had a king-size bed. I was on my side, and he was at the end. And that lasted for 2 years. And we never met in the middle, you know. And I knew something was up. And then he started losing a lot of weight. We were having a party, and his mother was there, and she hadn't seen him for like 2 weeks, and he did lose maybe 40 pounds. She got me in the kitchen and started screaming and yelling at me that you're starving my son, you're not cooking for him, look at him. Well, my sister-in-law Donna was there, John's wife, and she said, "Mother, William has HIV." He was the type of son that he called his mother every day, usually at about 10 o'clock at night, to see how she was and all, because she lived in a great big house by herself. And then she would start apologizing to him. And then he'd get off the phone crying because his mother would say, "I'm so sorry that I brought you into the world, you know, with having hemophilia. I was a terrible mother." And this went on for years. It was. And I could see her. I mean, when he had the elbow bleed, he told our daughters, never bring a child into the world with hemophilia. And I have a grandson, James, but he's adopted.
Mm-hmm.
He is. Because my girls, listen, they would never, to seeing their father suffer. And then Maria has hemophilia and a carrier. So that meant every child she had would have hemophilia.
Mm-hmm.
So she chose not to.
That was a decision.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And Patty is not married, doesn't have any children, but she's a carrier too.
Pete had told his brother John,
Yes.
and so his wife knew.
Yeah.
And so you found out in the kitchen
That's
at
how
the same
I found
time
out.
as
I was
your
like,
mother-in-law.
Yes. That's how I found out. Because I was getting ready to leave.
That's what Pete had said in the documentary.
Yes.
You were concerned that he might be having another
Yes,
relationship,
I
or
didn't
you
know.
just
I
weren't
didn't-
sure what was going on.
I didn't know.
But you suspected maybe something that it could have been more health related because of the weight
do.
loss.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we, you know, was there once a month at Jefferson for the man wine groups. You know, we did that. Our treatment center having so many people, and then you go, and then they're this one, how's this one? And they couldn't tell us.
Mm.
You know, the women's group we were belonged to, we went in on a Thursday, and I said, "Oh, where's this girl at?" I can't mention her name. I said, "Where is she? And how's her husband? Is he okay?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, he's doing fine." I went home that night and read the Inquirer, and his death notice was in. But they couldn't tell us because of confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that could have been handled different because we were all girlfriends and we were all friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we all met the next day and went to the funeral.
Yeah.
It was sad, you know, so many people. And there was 3 people that they couldn't afford a funeral. We paid for that. We had 3 people buried. We did. What were you going to do? The morgue would call us and say, could they would give his name. And then he would be very silent. Don't take money out of that one checking account. I had to give the funeral director. And I would say, "Oh, gosh, thanks for telling me." You know. But what could you do? You had to help people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Well, that's the legacy that I think that Pete and you now
Yeah.
have continued to leave, is
Yes.
helping people.
Right. I do help people. I feel that their families sometimes forget them when they get to a certain, like me, I'll be 79 June 30th. And I have friends who are a little younger than me or a little older, and they have children and they don't see them every 6 months, or you're stopping to see your mother Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them don't have food in the house. You know, it's sad.
Yeah.
It is. And so I help all the communities. I mean, we always sponsor kids Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
We do different families. I help them out. And you know what? Is it the same family? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the same family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's generations.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do?
Nothing. You're going to do it.
I mean, I've been fortunate. You know, I have a roof over my head, food on the table. I have a good job. And I share.
Yeah.
I share.
Yeah. Let's go towards talk a little bit about your industry experience and industry perspective. You've had a professional career in this space for
30-some years.
30-some
About
years?
35 years I've been working in this hemophilia community.
and that has given you a unique perspective. How did your personal journey shape your professional path? And tell us about your own career aspirations prior to meeting Pete and how those helped you in the role of wife, caregiver, and community support.
How I got involved with this, a company where he was getting his factor approached me and asked me if I would help fill in because the sales rep that they had at the time was having a liver transplant and he wouldn't be able to work. So I said, yeah, I'll help out. So I started helping out with them. And then he decided he wasn't coming back. And I was at that company for 14 years. I did.
Where were they based out of?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
and I worked there. I did. And Pete was always a metallurgist, and he worked in the metal industry. He worked for Ryerson Steel, and he was fired from that job after 32 years because of he got called in by the vice president. Our insurance is astronomical, and it's all relates. You're the only one, so they let him go after 32 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a shock. He came home, and said, "Well, I lost my job today." Okay, so the woman who owned the company where I worked, she said, "When you're not home, Pete answers the phone," and I said, "Well, Pete lost his job after 32 years," and she said, "Oh, I'm going to send him a ticket. Let him come down here. You and him can work as a husband and wife team." And I went, on my face, just like I went. I had to think that one over because I thought maybe my break was when I went to work. I didn't have him with me, and she said, "Oh, everybody said, oh, you will share windshield time. Windshield time. I felt like putting him through the windshield sometimes with him because he was so bossy. Do this. I don't like the driving. I don't like this. I don't like that. But we worked together a long time. We did. We learned a lot from the woman in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And her son. And then we changed jobs. Somebody else came and offered us a better job.
Together.
So, yeah, together.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the husband and wife team. And then there was another couple who were friends of ours, and they lived in Maryland. They were a black couple. And they said, "We want to be the Black Pat and Pete." And I was saying, "No, you don't." And they were saying, "We do. And they came to our house. We would have meetings, and they would drive up and stay overnight. We had a house in Brigantine at the time, and they would come, and, we would, go swimming, and I would train them and stuff like that.
And so they began working at the same company that you and Pete worked
yes,
at.
and they're still in it, too. And now their son's in it. He has hemophilia.
We'll have to talk offline to know if I've been able
to
meet them yet.
I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I go all over, I get messages from everybody I used to work with because I was friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never a jealous person. Some people would go, and I was never like that. We were never like that.
Mm-hmm.
They would love us to come from Philly because we would bring, when we worked in Nashville, everyone wanted the same thing, tasty cakes. That's all everybody wanted, bring tasty cakes. It got to the point that people would say, "Could you bring me candy cakes? Could you bring me this? Could you?" I shipped them.
Did you?
Because I couldn't carry them in my luggage. I would have had no clothes.
That's so funny.
So we just shipped them to them, and they were happy for that. Or Philly pretzels.
Yeah. We love our Philly pretzels.
I don't eat pretzels.
No. You just bring them to all of our events?
I do.
That's so nice of you, Pat.
I don't eat them. I was a kid. I sold them. That's how I made my money in the summer. I grew up in Kensington, and me and my brothers sold pretzels. But my brothers would sell ours. I went to all the factories and said, "I'm going to be selling pretzels." And the guy said, "Okay." I said, "Don't buy from my brothers. Just buy from me." And they did. I was done in an hour and a half selling my 100.
You are an entrepreneur.
When I was 8 years old.
Well, it definitely carried.
Yes, it did.
So with your experience in, I believe they're all specialty pharmacy.
Yes.
What changes have you seen from that side that have been most meaningful over the years that you've been within the specialty pharmacy space?
Well, the different companies I worked, a lot of them, for money. They all want to, earn money and everything. And some got to a point that they didn't care about their patients. They didn't want to do anything for their patients. I had worked the one company before where I work now. I had been a manager there, and I got let go after 5 years. And the next day I got 5 offers. And I was going to retire at the time, but I didn't. And I'm very happy at the company where I work now. I like the way they manage the people. I like to do. It's like they're treated with respect, and the other companies respect the people too. But it's the way it's done. You can call and talk to anybody in our office, and they all know hemophilia. It's like you're not talking to a clerk. And that happens because one time with insurance, we had somebody else, and I called the order factor, and I said, he's out of factory, he needs it. 2 weeks later, it came. The girl said, oh, I didn't know. And here she knew nothing about hemophilia, the girl. So she just took the order and placed it, and they didn't ship it. We're not like a lick and stick business. I deliver my orders to my patients. I do.
And you have some stories there, but you don't need to share
No,
those.
they don't.
Those might be too personal, but
I have patients that I had when they were 3 years old, and they're in their 30s now, and they call me all the time.
I love it. I love seeing you interact with those people. I know them. I know many of them now too,
you know them.
and
They
their
all-
families.
yes,
and the Jefferson crew. Many of them are at Jefferson, and that Jefferson crew is a tight knit
We
bunch.
are.
And I really love
Right.
seeing
Yeah,
what
I
has
love
happened
seeing
there, and the social worker and the staff
Yes.
in general. So looking ahead to this generation and moving on, what gives you hope when you look at the next generation, and what are you still concerned about?
Well, I'll tell you. Now with the new factor, and my husband's goal was, my husband was crippled. He wore a full leg brace because he bled so much in the joint. And then he was riding a bicycle, 3 on a bicycle, and that's how he really did damage to the knee. And you won't see that anymore with the new factors out there and stuff like that. And his goal was he wanted to have a pill made. And I hope I'm alive, that they do come out with a pill, because now they have this injection that they take, and it's amazing. It is the pharmaceutical companies that have given hope to these kids. And
The subcutaneous injection
yes,
instead
it's
of the
great.
full infusion.
It's so good that they don't have the kids stick themselves. Now they give it a shot.
Yep.
And that his dream was to have it in pill form, something easy for the kids.
And that's a hope you have.
I hope I have it. I hope I see that it's pills. You know, wouldn't that be great? Oh, just imagine waking up, I have a bleed, taking a pill. I think that would be wonderful.
It would be revolutionary.
It would be. I'm just praying that it happens. And, you know, I have a friend who works for Eli Lilly, and he does all this Wegovy and stuff like that. And now he told me 2 years ago, it's coming out in pills. And now it's out in pill form. So if they can do it with that, I think we're going to be surprised.
How about concerns that you still have?
I have concerns for my girls, you know, when I'm not here anymore. Like, Maria is the worst hemophilia patient you ever want to see. If she has a bleed, she don't take much for it. She will go when it's necessary. Because, you know, the company where she works, they get her a nurse and everything. And if the nurse sticks her 5 times, she'll say, my mother will come over and do it. Because if you stick her a certain way, she passes out. And that's a condition, they say. So I do it. And who's going to take care of them? You know, but they're grown now. They can.
And they've watched
another.
you. And
Yeah,
they've watched you and your dad and
yes,
their dad for many
yes.
years.
And
Yeah.
Patty knows how to give shots and stuff like that, so they can help one another. But that's my concern. And I worry about my friends in the community when they don't take care of themselves. Like, you know, I have a friend just lost his mother, and he's over my house. You know, it's like heartbreak. You know, she was our friend. It's like you all suffer. You do. But now the little kids, when you see them, I'm very happy because they're running around, they're having fun. You know, they don't have to sit next to mom. Okay, you can do that. You know, they can be kids. And
Do you feel that
say
it's important, though, that the younger generation is aware of the past?
Well, there was a family dinner a couple years ago, and we brought Ann Rogers was there, and she brought Ricky Ray's mom. And a lot of the young generation, they got up and they left. They didn't want to hear it. And I think that was sad. They should have.
Was that through the chapter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I did
it was
not-
at a family dinner.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, it was at a family dinner, and they got up and they left. And I think they were scared.
Yeah.
You know, some woman said to me, do you mind if I sit next to you? You understand this? And I said, yes. And I explained. I lived it. Because I lived through all that. I did. And I said to her, I was honest. I said, we were scared. And you don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
in the future. You know, I pray to God every night that it never happens again.
Sure.
I mean, we lost so many of our dear friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, really did. It was sad. And you can't blame their families because their families didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And like some people would say, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. But they didn't know it
Mm-hmm.
and all. And just like, you know, I used to help people out. Like they would say, she has, like this one woman, she had 2 boys with hemophilia, severe. And she she would spend $100 a month on food, but she didn't know how to buy food. And, you know, everybody contradicted her. They didn't like her. They said this and all. And I said, wait a minute. I said, did you get to know her? No. At 12 years old, she got pregnant. She was put out on the street by her family.
Mm.
So by 13, she had a boy with hemophilia, severe. And then a year later, she had another boy. So she never had a chance to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
She was never taught. I took her under my wing. I showed her how to cook. I taught the one boy, loved to cook, and he's a chef now.
Mm.
And the first meal we made was Thanksgiving dinner. I went out and bought the turkey and stuff, and I went to their little apartment, and I told them how to do it. We made the stuffing and everything there, and it was full of bugs, believe me. But we did it, and I left everything. The next day, I told him when to put it in, the turkey, put it in. He called me and goes, Miss Pat, something's wrong with the turkey. And I said, Dwayne, why? He said, it's turning brown. I said, it's cooking, honey. That's it. And, you know, that was like amazing, but I was...
Something we take for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I met these kids, when I would bring like snacks, they would put them in their pocket and hide it. Or if I took them out to lunch or dinner and we would go to a buffet, if they would break a cookie in half and hide it because they didn't have food.
Yeah.
And when I learned that broke my heart.
Yeah.
They would have their cereal with water. I put a stop to that. I
Mm-hmm.
did. You know, that we came to some things and the mom got clean, and that was good.
Are you still in touch?
Still in touch with them.
Aw.
I mean, the girl went to her prom. I went out and got her hair done, and because she was a good girl to her brothers, and I like people to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I like people to have more than I had when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
because I had 3 brothers and 2 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my father was a welder. You know, my mom didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
so you know, but you know, and God made me that I could do things.
Yep.
For them.
And you have done so much. We are in the process of collecting stories from our community as it relates to our mission and the pillars of our mission. Kia and I are going to be very soon reaching out to some specific people that we have kind of identified, but we're also going to have a form out on the website for people to complete as well. And Pat, I just bet that there are some people in the community who are going to fill that form out that mention you, and how much that you have done for them. It's really amazing, and you just show people such grace, and you're such a role model to me as well. I wrote that in my thank you note to you, because you just show what it means to give, and your acts of service are just truly amazing, and I just have so much respect for you. I hope you know that, and I think a lot of people feel that way as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It was a great meeting you, like the first day. You know, when we went out to lunch and everything, you know.
We've had some great lunches.
We did.
Especially with the rest of your team.
And Lisa is the doll baby, and my boyfriend's right over there in the corner. He's a doll baby too. And I tell Lisa, you heard that, Lisa?
Yes, your boyfriend. So, what advice would you give to someone who is newly navigating a diagnosis today? A new mom or dad?
Speak up. Learn to talk for your child. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Remember that that's your child, and you have a right to know. Because I had a doctor said to my daughter, I took her, and they said, "Mother, you stay here." And she was 8 years old. I said, "No, I'm going in." And you know, and get the best. If you feel your child has, you go to a hematologist, you go to one of our wonderful hospitals.
I was just going to ask, do you believe that we are just in a really strong area within our
Definitely.
coverage area with 6
And
hemophilia treatment centers?
Some of our treatment centers has new doctors,
Mm-hmm.
but that's great because they're very educated and they want to help.
Mm-hmm.
They do. And new nurses, like Jefferson, we have all new nurses and new everything there. But they're doing a great job.
If you could sum up your journey in one message to this community, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a punishment asking for help. It's educate yourself. Learn everything you can about your child's illness or yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We know a girl who had problems. I met her a couple years ago at a women's retreat, and she's doing fantastic now. Because I kept saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. And she did, and she thanked me. Some parents are still afraid to ask.
Yeah.
They go to doctors. If the doctors ask you a question, don't you answer them? Maybe they're afraid.
I think that's something that we could probably be exploring a little bit more as a chapter and a foundation on that part about why are we afraid to ask more questions.
I was told by a Spanish woman that they were taught respect and never to question the doctor. And I said, no, this is your child. You ask questions. She would allow them to do anything to the child. And say, I was never like that because I learned from my husband, but I learned myself when my daughter, Pat, at 3, had a brain hemorrhage. And we took her to Jean's Hospital in Philadelphia. And the doctor said, well, I want to run some tests, but she probably will be dead tomorrow. And this is what he told me. I picked her up out of bed, and then he had security because he was coming after me. And I said, I'm going to Jefferson. He said, well, I'm going to get you arrested. I said, well, send her in an ambulance. Because I already had called the doctor. Yeah. I knew that her pediatrician was there. And when I got there, they were waiting for me. He saw her like 2 minutes and he sent me a bill for $375. And I was furious with that. And my husband said, just pay him to shut him up. I said, no, I'm not paying him. It was the principal. I didn't like when he said, what mother would want to hear? She's not going to be alive anymore. She's going to be dead.
That's horrible.
And that's exact words he said to me.
Yeah.
And then I saw red, and then I started. Everybody has to speak up.
What would you tell people about the power of community in the bleeding disorder world? And I know it's changed over time.
Oh, it has changed a lot, and all. But let's talk about our chapter.
Okay.
A lot of people, when you came, and, everybody said, oh, she's not in the community and all. And I talked to you, and I knew I had faith in you and the people we have now. You really found out about hemophilia. You are the most caring people that I know in this community. Each and every one of you. And I love you all. I would trust my life with you guys.
Oh, thank you. We feel the same. I feel the same.
Right. And that's the way it is. So, and I know what you went through. And I was ashamed of what people put you through.
Well, thank you. It was all part of the process.
Yes. And look where we are.
Yeah.
Here.
I think that with the advocacy piece of our mission, the financial assistance piece that we, are able to provide help for the people who need it. We provide over $50,000 in scholarships every year, which is not technically part of our mission, but which we're proud to do. Be able to get our community in front of events in terms of therapies and non-branded information to help them know and be able to help themselves and their children. Sometimes I'm not sure because of the new therapies that kids are able to run and play and do things easier without as much fear from the families that they're going to get hurt. I'm not sure that our chapter is being used in the same way that maybe in the past that was needed for advocacy, especially for advocacy and the creation of the hemophilia treatment centers and being able to advocate for the enormous loss of life through the AIDS crisis and the tainted blood crisis. So I think things are shifting away from those very important years, but we're still important and we're still kind of trying to talking about the word reframe, we're still trying to understand what our community needs now.
Right. Yes.
All these years later.
And it's changed. And
Yes.
it's good. It's a
Mhm.
good change.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Because, like, I've been in the hemophilia community 53 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived through the worst.
Yeah, I know you did.
I lived through the worst. I did.
Switching over to women and girls with bleeding disorders, something that's gaining more attention, thankfully, in our
Yes.
community. For so many years, there was a belief that women and girls didn't have bleeding disorders, or at least not in the same way. From your perspective, what did you see or experience around that? What has been a driving force for that narrative to change now in 2026?
Well, the time. And I remember being in meetings with all guys, and they would say, women don't have a bleeding problem. Women do. And they did. Some of our older generation out there now, if you said, they would say, no, women don't have a bleeding. They were taught that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a male disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then me being a mother of 2 daughters who are carriers, and when I had asked the doctors at Jefferson, it was this older doctor, and he goes, why should we test them? You know they're carriers. And this is what he told me. I said, well, I want them tested. And he just shook his head, but he tested them, and and Maria was a bleeder, and Pat,
A carrier.
is a wannabe. And nowadays, it's proven. And like the older guys still think it's hard that women have it. They don't want to. I don't know what is it. It's a macho thing with guys.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Is it a fear? Is it a lack of understanding? Is it just a general dismissal of women and girls in general? You don't need to ask. But I think we may answer that. But I do think we're making a lot of progress.
You are making a lot of progress. Now they know that the women do have bleeding disorders.
Yes.
And I had talked to an older generation man, and he said, that's not true. And I said, it is true. Mm-hmm. And like I said, my daughter, and he goes, that's just her cycle each month. It's heavy. And this is what he still don't believe it. Hmm. And he won't ever believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that they put all these guys up, this is a male disease, nobody else will have it. And some of them don't want to let go of it, which is like, what? Mm-hmm. And I always believe move on. Because there's a lot of new things out there, move on.
Yep.
And, and if your daughter has problems, like I tell them, get her checked.
Yes.
The men, you could have 5 men in the room, and they would say, women don't have, it's not true.
Yeah.
And we see it. Mm-hmm. And they still don't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, it's part of a major initiative that we have along with the Western Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorder Foundation to be spreading awareness as much as we can to pediatricians, gynecologists, other hospitals that are not part of the hematology or the hemophilia treatment centers. This is important for us to get out there. What do you still think needs to change to ensure women and girls are diagnosed earlier and supported appropriately?
Education. Education is an important thing.
Do you think that there could be ever a chance that women are treated prophylactically the same way that men are?
Yes.
So there will be severe bleeders.
Yes.
Or I also know that you can be mild but still bleed severely. So
correct.
Do you think it could double our population of hemophiliacs in this country?
There's more women out there bleeders now, isn't there? Mm-hmm. And there's women out there bleeders that think every month that's them. They don't have a problem, but they do.
Yes.
And they need help. But it's the education.
Yeah. The education is the biggest piece of it,
right? Yes.
And the acceptance.
Yeah, and we're trying to get it out to them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are, and
that could lead to a bigger conversation about what that's going to look like for care through the hemophilia treatment centers and insurance covering more factor. But who cares? Our girls need it, and our women need it, and if that's going to be our next advocacy initiative at the state and local or state and federal government level, I guess that's what the next thing will be.
Right. My daughter hurt her ankle, and it was all black and blue. It was Patty. And I took her to my doctor. And he said, oh, my God, she caught hemophilia. And I went, what? And he said, oh, yeah. I said, get your book out and read it. That was Hemophilia 101. She didn't catch it.
Right. It was inherited.
Yeah. And, I was shocked because he went to one of the best medical schools. And I thought, these doctors have to be educated more. 101, they have to do more than hemophilia 101.
Yeah.
They do.
And that's just hemophilia. Talking about von Willebrand, I think they're estimating between 1.1 and 1.3 million people
Yes.
right now, and
Yes.
and we already know that the women are being severely underdiagnosed. So who
Yes.
knows what those
Yeah.
numbers are going to be and when it no longer is considered rare.
Right, yeah. And
Just-
we have meetings and you hear stories. It's pathetic.
Mhm.
This what these young girls are going
I know.
through. They listen to some. If you go to a doctor and don't understand it, why can't a doctor say you need to go to a hemophilia center?
Exactly, because of the education piece.
And that's
back
what-
to your point of
and that's,
education.
that they have to have and more education. That's what we need. They have to be educated.
When we are spreading awareness about this in various locations throughout Pennsylvania, what I say to the people who I'm speaking to is if we can get these earlier diagnoses for women and girls, and at that point, I'm hoping it's girls,
Yes.
it could help them be able to be at school more often, be able to work
Exactly.
longer, not have to be spending as much money as they need to take care of
Yeah.
themselves during
Yes.
their monthly cycle, and then eventually the emotional toil and impact that this is having on
Correct.
them, and
That's right.
maybe even more eventually how this could be affecting them reproductively.
Yes.
I mean, it's really a serious thing that I'm very hopeful continues on the trajectory that it is.
Yes. And what's sad about this, there's a lot of young girls. They can't even afford a box of pads. That's the sad part.
Yes.
They can't take care of themselves, which is so sad.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's expensive.
Very expensive.
And that is also part of our financial assistance piece, too, through the hemophilia treatment centers. So at EPBDF, growing our women's initiative is a big priority. What advice would you give to organizations like ours as we continue to build that work?
Well, your center, where you are, I think, continue to do what you do. You understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's because you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You understand. And like I said, we have to get out there and educate these people.
Mm-hmm.
And it costs money to have meetings. It costs money to have this.
Does it have to be a nurse or a medical provider to educate other nurses and medical providers about this?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, and sometimes get a young girl up there. Get a young girl 17.
Mm-hmm.
Up there.
With their story.
And with their story,
Mm-hmm.
and let them tell what they go through each month.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from the source, them.
Yes.
And why not
Mm-hmm.
have it like I always thought maybe we should do like a teen meeting
Mm-hmm.
for teen girls
Mm-hmm.
with their going in, because some of these girls are 8 years old and they're getting their period.
I
8
know.
years old.
Mm-hmm.
And who's telling them if their mom don't understand it?
Exactly.
Because like a woman said her two daughters had, she said that's nothing. I had it all my life, but she didn't have to have it all her life,
Right.
because she wasn't educated.
Yeah. It's how we bleed. It's how the family. It's how
Right,
the
and
family
that's what it is. That's what they
always
are.
bleeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people say that.
I know.
A lot of people say that.
I know. Well, I'm going to give you quick questions, rapid fire. One word to describe Pete.
Unforgettable.
One word to describe the community.
Sad sometimes.
Biggest change you've seen in one sentence in the bleeding disorders community.
I see hope for our hemophilia community with the meetings you have and with the education out there. They're learning.
Biggest worry you have still about the bleeding disorders space in one sentence.
Lack of education, girls still suffering acceptance.
And first word you can think of to sum up people with bleeding disorders.
Sad. No, not sad. Hopeful.
Maybe sad
Sad, too. Hopeful,
sad, but
sad.
a long time ago, but maybe now hopeful.
Yeah, I would say 20 years ago it was very sad.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's hopeful. I mean, everything that's out, but some of them don't get it. I mean, you go to a HTC, they should have something that with everything on it. But the HTC now, when you go to it, you sit in the lobby and then they take you right in the room. Because I went with my daughter, I was shocked. Like, we used to be able to sit and the guys used to talk to one another, and they don't have that anymore.
Oh, so they're almost missing just a opportunity for community right there in the waiting room.
Right, nothing, and that's sad. Because they used to like to do that, like like if my husband was there, one of his buddies, oh well, look who's here, like that, and sometimes they would say to him, hey, you got $20, and like
Yeah.
he would give them like $20 if they needed it and stuff like that, or a ride. They don't have that anymore.
Is that all due to HIPAA compliance and confidentiality?
HIPAA, yes. And they don't even keep you. When I went with Maria to her appointment, we were there, and then the next thing you know, we're in there 5 minutes, and they took us in the room and shut the door. You didn't even get a chance to meet somebody, like to say, hi, how you doing, like that.
Well, I know the social worker from Jefferson has already started these small groups again up at Jefferson. So hopefully they're getting that community
because I have talked to her about that, and she's trying to do things like that, which is good because she sees it too. And like their new building's beautiful. You go in and you register on the first floor. So the time you get there, everything your physician's there, and it's great that you don't have to wait. I remember waiting 5-6 hours.
Wow.
There, and it's horrible. And another thing, we were there a couple weeks ago. My daughter Patty with the headache and everything, and she went, and we were there. We got there at 3:00 in the afternoon. I got home at my house 4:30 in the morning, and they gave her 2 Tylenol.
You went to the emergency room, and then
that long we were there.
Wow.
That long.
And they contacted the HTC?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good.
That's good too.
At
but
least.
like, we used to go in and like I used to always give them a sign, hemophilia patients, because the nurse who was registering people said, I know you. I said, you should. I used to come here enough. I mean, but they used to take you faster. That hemophilia, they should be put up. But it was a very sad experience for me. And I said to Pat, I really don't want to come back here again.
Yeah.
Because there was this poor woman come in and she said she took some kind of a drug and she died right there in the spot. They couldn't bring her back. And I said,
Wow.
I was so upset over it.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God.
And you saw that?
I saw that.
Oh my gosh, Pat. Jeez.
And that was sad.
Yeah.
Because the whole waiting room, and it was a cold night, so more people come in, they're cold. It's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, this man next to me said to me, lady, could you buy me a cup of coffee? I gave him $5. I said, sure. I mean, the poor people are starved.
Yeah.
I see changes I'm happy with in the hemophilia community. I like the new products out there. I'll be even dancing in the street if they come out with a pill.
When they come out with a pill, I'm bringing you back on for our next podcast, Pat. That's going to be a celebration. Pat, thank you for not just for being here today, but for everything you've given to this community over the years, including the chapter and this chapter team personally in the last 4 years plus that we've been in this role. Your story is a powerful reminder of how far the bleeding disorder community has come and how much of that progress is because of people like you and Pete. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this first episode of our EPBDF podcast series. We hope you've enjoyed it, and this is just the beginning. We'll continue sharing stories that highlight the strength, resilience, and connection that define this community. If you are interested in sharing your own story, please contact us. We will also be posting a link on our website for people to share their stories on how EPBDF has impacted them. Please stay tuned to our Friday emails and socials. For upcoming events, please visit us at www.epbdf.org/events. We hope to see you all at our upcoming family dinner on June 24th. Please RSVP. Until next time, take care and stay connected. Thank you.